All right, welcome everybody. We have Tom and live and in person and with picture. We have George. Welcome back. George has been with us on the streams, but he's got the camera up and running. So we're back. We're back in business. Hello, everybody. Hopefully there should be some happy campers today. This was a very good week for the Bitcoin miners in particular. For Bitcoin, we'll discuss. Bitcoin is still, in my mind, it's still, it's bumping into a wall. But the Bitcoin miners are not waiting for it to break through that wall. What? Are you sure? Well, it matters. Please somebody do us a favor. Can you hear George? Can you see George? Can you hear George? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I hear you. Hold on. I might have to get tech again. What is the deal? Hold on. All right, everybody, please give me one moment. I'm going to go get tech support because we can't hear George and I must have pressed a button. And I just don't know what button to press to fix it. So I'll be right back. Give me 20 seconds. Everybody, please hold for 20 seconds. All right, try now, George.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
All right, everybody should be able to hear you now. Hopefully, give us somebody Barry, are you counting down the seconds? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
I made it in plenty of time. Thank you, everybody, for waiting. Thank you, tech support, for fixing the problem. You should now hear George. No, end the countdown.
Yes, it works, Tom.
Good.
Now I can mute me.
All right. Okay, at last. Welcome, everybody. Now, for real, say hello to George. George, say hello to everybody since, unfortunately, you were muted.
Hello.
All right. We're glad to have George up and running now with video. See, we added the video, so we deleted the audio. But now we got everything. And...
Good week.
And if everybody could smash the like button, please. Oh, no, that's not what I meant to say. Well, I mean, you could do that too if you want. But, yeah, smash the like button. So you got me on meltdown. I'm on tilt.
Sorry. Thanks, Scott. I've been trying. I eat fish every single day now. That's all I eat is fish. But anyways, I don't want to bore you with that.
No, hey, man, you've made a huge progress.
Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about Bitcoin.
You just flash back to I think that might have been late 80s, early 90s. Darren, thank you very much for the super chat. And Darren is asking for the Stronghold members only video. Went long at $4.50. Boom, and we're over $7. So we did that members only video last week. For those of you who are not a member, you can become a member by hitting the join button. It's only $5 a month, and you can see we did a Stronghold video last week. Darren, congratulations. Darren bought in at $4.50. A week later, we're over $7. So that's been a great trade. Hopefully a lot of you guys got in on that one. And, you know.
And that was not financial advice. That was your own advice. This was people working together, make their own decisions.
Right. That's the beauty of the member group, is that the members pick the things for me to do a deep dive on. So they picked Stronghold. So I did a deep dive on it, did a video for the members only, and obviously that was good timing. That was fortuitous.
It's really interesting. Can you pull up Stronghold real quick?
Absolutely. But congratulations, Darren. That is awesome. Please, everybody, share your good news, because I know some of you guys had a good week. This was, I'll admit it, this was a great week for me. So, you know, we had plenty
Stephen
of
English
losers
just
last
wrote,
year.
Stephen English, for non-members, Tom said to sell SDIG.
That is not true. That's a fake news.
Oh, God. But, I mean, so you were saying how they were just beating the snot up of Stronghold.
I've been buying Stronghold starting about a month ago. And, yeah, I mean, I still think it's early. I mean, I know it just ran up, and we'll look. I'm pulling up the chart right now. We just got a big run up, but you can see it was, we were talking about it because it was bouncing off of its all-time low here, which made no sense to me. There was no line of reasoning for this, in my opinion. So from its low of like a week ago until now, it's up over 90%. So that's a good, that's a good week.
That's great to read. I'm probably going to say this wrong, but is it Minish? Minish, maybe? Min. My portfolio was down 75%, but now it's only down 15%. I guess just hung in there,
Outstanding. Congratulations. See, not only hung in, but you must have, I'm guessing, dollar cost averaged when it hurt the most. That's the hardest part of all this. When these stocks are the cheapest and they're giving them away, that is the hardest time to buy. But I know a lot of people in our members, a lot of our subscribers, and a lot of you guys that are here with us on the live stream are the ones that stuck in, you dollar cost averaged in, and most people are green on, well, I won't say most, a lot of people are now in the green on a lot of their stocks. And, some of these stocks were down 90 to 95% at one point, but we're already back in the green on some of them.
It's nice to do a live stream when it's such a good week. This last 2 weeks have been fun. You know?
Yeah, exactly. This was a really exciting week as far as I'm concerned for the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin, I still think we're on the verge of having our time. I did talk earlier this week that I thought we were going to go sideways for a couple of days. So I don't know. Now it's the weekend. I don't know. Is it going to run up on the weekend and do that thing it does to us? And if you play Bitcoin straight, you can get in on that. But if you're playing the miners, that's right. Sometimes we get this weekend run, and then by Monday morning, we're right back where we started. But we will see. I still feel like, well, I won't tell you what I feel. We'll do our normal poll, and you guys can tell me what you think.
Wow, look at Alexander. I made up all my losses for the last 2.5 years, and now 20% up overall. Nice job.
Outstanding. Congratulations.
That's awesome, Pac. That's awesome. It's so cool because that's one of the reasons Tom and I started this channel, is that we saw this coming. We saw that they were going to go after everybody's money. And I mean, I don't know if anybody saw this, but it was 7.22 is now the new mortgage rate for a 30-year fixed average in the United States.
Wow.
Martin is flexing. I'm up 250%. I'm up 30K this week alone. Still buying every single week. Dollar cost averaging is king.
Congratulations, Martin.
This is awesome to see.
Yeah, this is great.
Listen to Craig. He's up 14, almost 15% this week, and 142 year to date. He has 120 stocks. What a way to spread the risk.
120 stocks. Craig,
That's
that's
awesome.
incredible. That's a big watch list. Never mind owning. So that's a
Yeah.
diverse portfolio.
How do you not pull your hair out? Oh, wait a second.
Well, it's
I'm picking
hey,
on you,
listen,
Craig.
it's working for him.
No, he has a picture of himself,
Oh,
and he's
great.
he's bald. So that's why I said, how did you not pull your hair out? Dude, I mean, this is crazy to see this. Isn't this nice to know that well, really, Tom has kept you guys on the straight and narrow.
Well, the whole group has kept it together. It's a beautiful thing. JR said, at Talking Investing, the squad is winning so hard right now. Let's go. Yes. Thank you, JR. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for all your support. And hello to everybody, all the members, all the subscribers. I'll catch some more names in a minute. But yes, yeah, I mean, I know that our members are absolutely killing it right now. And everybody, you know, everybody that stuck with it. This is, we got to have, you're right, George. These are the good, we deserve some of these Fridays because remember last year it was like you knew, you guaranteed Friday was going to be red. It was like money in the bank. Another depressing Friday. But that, you know, 2022 is over. It's 2023 now.
I got to read these real quick. Matthew writes, I credit Tom for most of the reason of why I'm up 189% year to date. He brought my attention to HUT and Bitfarms, and I was in CleanSpark and brought very cheap to the bottom. And
Excellent.
Craig said 90% of his money's in Bitfarms, by the way. Whoa!
Crypto forever. Thank you very much. Very generous super chat. That's our super chat winner for the year right now. So you must have had a good week, and I thank you. And let's read what Crypto Fever has to say.
Did you read it? Read his. It's worth the read, by the way.
I'm going to read it right now to everybody. Givers Gain had to change my name, formerly known as Organic Auto. Oh, okay, Organic Auto. So you've been with us for a while, but the new name is fitting. I turned my day job, small weed farm, into a side gig as of last week. Made more money in the last 3 months than last 2 years. Thanks, guys. Mara CleanSpark Riot. Congratulations, Crypto Fever,
awesome.
a.k.a. Organic Autos. And thanks for telling me that you had to change your name so that I can keep track. That's always hard to do. Everybody's got one name on YouTube, one name on, you know, in the Discord, and then a lot of people, I don't know why Discord made a lot of people change their names. So, but anyway, thank you. That's extremely generous. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for being a member and supporting the channel. And congratulations. It sounds like you got everything working the right way right now. So that
Tom K
totally
said this
awesome.
twice. Tom K said this to buy the miners who haven't reported monthly numbers yet.
By the ones who have not reported monthly numbers yet. See, and so you know, I won't say across the board, but I think there's some gems in there, and I think that's why Stronghold has taken off. We talked about in my deep dive, I did say I think Stronghold's going to report for the first time this month, and they did. And I think that's the reason that they've taken off. Nobody knew what they were doing. And there was even a very strange buying opportunity on the day they reported. That morning, they crashed. So, you know, I got to dollar cost average in again. And then ever since then, it was off to the races. So, I hope everybody that got in, congratulations.
I'm going to put Tom's Twitter in the Discord. I mean, not in the Discord, in the chat right now for you guys.
I am now active on Twitter. So yes, anybody who wants to follow me, I would appreciate it. I'm 1,000 miles behind. I'm just starting, but I am active. Okay, sorry if I mispronounced. Sai Idula, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. And it says for all the hard work we put in. Well, thank you.
Listen to what Edmund said. Tom, now 206K on Iris and 105 on Wolf since February. Oh, you a dinner if you ever get to Dallas.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rock and zip. How does Bitcoin usually do in July?
I will tell you, I look at these charts, but this is... my personal advice is forget that's a very famous chart that's out there that tracks Bitcoin by each month, and because it's still a relatively new asset, you know, they track it for every year since it's been in existence, and certain months, when you look at the chart, it's very visual, and when you look at it, certain months really jump out at you, and if I remember correctly, I think July is a good month, but somebody let me know. You can put the chart in there, but I'm really paying attention to what's going on, because you will see, you know, there's big swings inside of those numbers, and I feel very bullish right now. I'm just going to tell everyone, I am still bullish. I know we've had a big run up. I know at some point, I think, you know, these 20 to 25% pullbacks, we've already gotten 2 of them this year, so there will be more to come. But even, you know, looking at a stock like Stronghold, for instance, so, you know, this still isn't back to where it was in April. This brings up another point that I know is going to aggravate some people, but I will tell you, one of the reasons I started buying Stronghold is they announced a reverse stock split, and people sell off on a reverse stock split, and we even did a poll, and 52% of the people on our poll said they believed a reverse stock split is always bad 100% of the time, no matter what. So I know that's a common belief out there. Sometimes, particularly with the Bitcoin miners, these reverse stock splits are not being done because they're, you know, statistically, if you were to look at it, yes, the companies that do reverse stock splits, that's usually, you know, one of the last or second last steps on the way to going out of business. But that's not what's going on with these companies at all. Stronghold's a great company. They're financially improved themselves drastically in the last 6 months. And, you know, they had to stay in compliance. They found themselves in a spot where they had to do a reverse split. So, you know, that was another freebie opportunity, in my opinion, to, you know, dollar cost average in as this thing you can see. There was a big pullback from that. And so I think, you know, we're nowhere near where we were just in April. So I think, you know, so for as much as we just ran up almost a double, that's another 80% run up just to get back to where we were in April. And, you know, there's no, and the only difference between April and now is now Stronghold's putting out monthly reports to show that they're a top 10 Bitcoin miner. They mined over 200 Bitcoin last month.
Pooh Brain, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. And Pooh Brain has to say, Mara and Riot LFG on fire. Mara and Riot are on fire. They were not on fire at the same time today. Riot finally, you know, Marathon was on a massive run, and I'm going to show you both of their market caps in a minute because it's wild. It's staggering. It's big time. But Marathon moves first, and we talked about this on the channel all the time as well. That, you know, these guys trade back and forth. Maybe at some point there will be a clear winner. They have very different business models, so, you know, it depends on how you look at these companies as to which one that you think is better. I will say this, Marathon has a lot more people that love them and a lot more people that hate them. They're the most traded stock, so, you know, I've tried to call it. Somebody called me out in the comments section. I think it might have even been a member that was like, oh, you've given Marathon a pass, and I just responded, look, watch my videos. Like, in 2022, I would say I did the opposite of give Marathon a pass. I did a monthly update every single month all year, and I was extremely critical of the fact that they were not hitting their price targets. So, but having said that, I'm not going to hold a grudge. I think they're doing good things now, right? So now, you know, last year when they missed their target 10 months in a row, I did not have a good feeling about them. Now I see them doing much better things. Now, they're still not 100% on target, but significant improvement. Anyway, Marathon had a big run up. Riot today was up 14%, kind of out of left field. And Marathon only 2%, but you know, Marathon ran first. So if I go look just real quick, where did I do that? Okay, so Riot is now up to 2.75, and these are a tiny bit off, but I double-checked. These are both fairly accurate. Riot right now, as of the end of today, is a $2.75 billion market cap company. So I'm going to show you later a chart where these guys were at the beginning of the year. It's just staggering what's happened. So Riot and Marathon are by far in first and second. So Riot's at 2.75. Marathon is at 2.66. So there's very, very close. Riot passed Marathon today. Marathon was ahead for a couple of weeks. Riot's been ahead most of the year. They have different stories. I mean, you really need to do your own deep dive to figure out there's major differences in their approach to what they're doing. I think they could both succeed, but they are going about it a different way. And we'll talk about Marathon had a really, really interesting number in their report this month that I think we should talk about later. But George, should we get a poll going?
Yeah, we should. But I have to also, since we talk about cryptos here, I don't know if people have been paying attention to Bitcoin Cash. It's up 100. I think it's almost up 150% for the year.
Bitcoin Cash.
And I have a crazy, I think, not financial advice, I think POW could be the next one. POW's up 11%.
ETH POW.
In 30 days. Yeah, ETH POW.
How about ETH Classic?
ETH Classic they call it POW, P-O-W.
Well, there's two. There's the original ETH that, the fork, Ethereum that's Ethereum is actually the fork. There's the original Ethereum, which is ETH Classic, and then there's ETH POW, which I don't even remember what their ticker is, but is it EPOW?
Well, it stands for ETH and then POW. That was the last one that they just forked off of.
Right. I can't remember.
What's ETH Classic? What's ETH Classic?
ETC.
Is that what you call ETH Classic? Huh?
Ethereum Classic is ETC. But that's not the one you're talking about. But
No,
I would add that to your list. This
ETC.
This could get interesting as well. And then ETH Proof of Work, I can't remember. If anybody, just drop, somebody's going to know. Somebody let us know in the chat. What's the
Before I forget, I've stuck on this one question. Biz101 said, Cleanspark, I had 4,000 shares, averaged in at $3.94, sold 1,000 today at $6.
Nice.
Just in case of a pullback. Was that a good idea?
I never, ever criticize for taking some profits. So if you dollar cost averaged in, that it's this, to me, those are two sides of the same coin. It's, you're averaging in, and once you start getting profitable, if you feel like things have gotten a little overheated and you take some profits, what I do think is, don't jump all in and then don't jump all out. For the people that had a great week this week and then sold everything on Friday, maybe that'll work out for you. Or, maybe this weekend Bitcoin's going to go off and you're going to miss the rest of the run. So I have no problem taking profits. The way I try to take profits is I use options, and I try to get in and out of options and take some profits along the way. Every once in a while, that ends up resulting in me losing a few dollars. But, it's very quantifiable the way I do it. I limit my risk, and so now I have been selling my options. I had a big stack of Bitfarms $1.50 options for August. I still have a lot of them left, but I've now sold almost half of those. And I will tell you, I think they're going to go way up from here. So some people will go, well, why? I've sold about 40% of them right now. And, you could ask, well, if you think they're going to go way up, I think they could still double, in fact. But I still feel like it's just prudent. I averaged in, I'll average out. And that way I hold all my Bitfarms actual stock. And I will tell you, in May, I lost on the Bitfarms options. So, you win some, you lose some. But I knew exactly what's at risk, and it's a lot less, but it's a lot higher risk. I don't know if that answers your question. So, it's everybody has a different strategy.
FOMO makes me, he writes, thanks for the answer, Biz101. Thanks for the answer because FOMO makes me greedy.
FOMO affects everybody. I don't care what anybody says. I've on the members only, I think is where we talked about. I felt it. I did not act on it, but man, it was killing me on Tuesday. I wanted to buy a bunch of things. I waited a few minutes, and all of a sudden it was off to the races. And then I was like, I missed it, and I was gonna start chasing, and I just did nothing. That's my
This
default.
is a great. Listen to this comment before I read it. If you would smash the like button, I would really appreciate it. Brian writes, Tom, you've been a great help. I'm up like 85% on my number one holding CleanSpark. I'm up 90% on Wolf, which is entirely due to you, Tom. Well, really due to you. You made the decision. And I'm up 20, 30, and 40% in other miners and bought very recently. Thanks, Tom.
Well, congratulations. And, like George said, we talk about this stuff, but you guys are the ones that have to pull the trigger and actually, make the purchase. And it's, it's not easy. So congratulations. That was Brian. Congratulations to Brian and to everybody. Most of you guys on here probably, well, actually we did a poll. Well, that was our members only poll. 100% of our members hold positions in at least one Bitcoin miner.
Hang on, Steven, he's visiting the home of George Washington, ancestral home. Do me a favor, if you're on Discord, send us pictures. That'd be neat. Right, and this is why I don't like ETH Classic, Tom, is because it was hacked.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was the whole reason I just don't, who knows? You know what I mean? Darren said Iris is going to 30 late 2024. Here's this rock and zip. Listen to this one, Tom. And just, I'm keeping up to date on these for you. My initial shots was to leverage Bitcoin with miners, take profit for miners when Bitcoin doesn't move much. It's been a good week for that. Maybe Bitcoin will have a big weekend. Ooh, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I don't, it's so hard to tell. People go, well, this is a leading indicator, that's a trailing. I don't know if this big move in the Bitcoin miners is just catching up, because there's some ways that you can look at this where as a leverage play, they had some catching up to do. Or you could look at this and say, is this a signal that Bitcoin's going to make its next move? Which is why the poll I'm going to put right now is Bitcoin to break out above 32K in the next week, ? So that's, to me, I would say 31,000, but I think we got up to 31,400 a couple of times. So I think we got to, break out and hit 32 to see if we can run from there. So let's see what you guys think. Is that going to happen in the next week, or are we going to keep bouncing around sideways here? Or later we'll ask, are we going to have a pullback?
And I have to answer this because this is a great Rock and Zip says, do you believe all the Bitcoin will be mined by the halving? ? Tom.
Do I believe that what?
I know. Do you believe all the Bitcoin will be mined by the halving?
Well, we know. So the way the halving works is we know exactly how many Bitcoin will be mined between now and the halving. The question is, the halving is not a precise moment that we can dictate, because, there's difficulty adjustments. Theoretically, every block on the average is supposed to take 10 minutes. If you look at this block by block, it's actually quite shocking. There's blocks that take 3 seconds. There was one block that took like 3 hours a couple of months ago. So, but on the average, they're usually, within 3 or 4 or 5% over the course of every 2 weeks. They're usually fairly close. And that's what the difficulty adjustments are. So the halving will be at a certain block number. So we know exactly how many. I may have that up on one of these charts. Let's see. I'm not sure. But, somewhere around next April, based on, the tiny fluctuations, somewhere around next April, we're going to have the halving. And we're still 100 years away from the last Bitcoin being mined. There is a theoretical way that it could happen faster than that, but it's a nonsense, ridiculous scenario, so I'm not even going to say it out loud because it's absolutely ridiculous. But there is one theoretical way where we could get there faster, but, you know, barring something impossible, we got another 100 years of this. But
I have a question. Could AI affect Bitcoin?
so here's the affect the price of Bitcoin or the rate at which it's mined?
The rate of which it's mined.
So here's the scenario, and I've never heard anybody talk about this, so I'm hesitant to even say it out loud because I do not believe that, you know, this could, I don't believe it's possible for this to happen. Let's say that somebody had a monumental breakthrough in technology, and they had a machine that could mine, you know, 100,000 times more efficiently than all the other machines. Well, they would have a 10-minute window to, you know, mine as many, because, you know, it doesn't, actually they would have, what would they have? They would have a 2-week window, right, until that difficulty level adjusts. So in theory, you know, if somebody were to have a machine all of a sudden, you know, that was, you know, 1,000,000 exahash, then that we could run into a, you know, between the changes in difficulty level, somebody could mine so much Bitcoin, it would actually move the goal line. But, you know, nothing like that's ever happened, and that's not how technology works. So that's not really a realistic scenario. That's a nonsense scenario, in my opinion. So,
yeah, how many Bitcoin are left, Tom?
oh, there's several million Bitcoin. I can't remember. We could find out the exact answer.
Yeah, 900 a day. So 900 minted a day, 2 million roughly left.
Yeah,
that's what I don't know the exact number, but it's not gonna. It's not going to change anytime soon.
Right.
But now you have me. You've piqued my curiosity.
If you can create some kind of unbelievable super mega quantum squared to infinity computer, then I suppose. But I mean, we all know these computer chips are what they are. They make incremental improvements, and, you know, it would be, if somebody came up with one that was twice as good, that would be a shocking improvement. So never mind one that's 1,000 times as good or 1,000,000 times as good. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, it sounds like there's about 2 million Bitcoin left to mine. And remember, there's somewhere like 4 or 5 million that are lost. So there's going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and I'm not sure the exact number that is lost. And, you know, I don't know that anybody can ever pinpoint that exact number, but those Bitcoin that are lost are never coming back because, you know, it's
that
not,
one guy. Did you hear? I'm sure everybody's heard this story about the guy in Britain who's threw his wallet out and had 150,000 keys on it.
Yeah, and those are gone. They can never come back. And there's a lot of people that have lost their Bitcoin. If you forgot your code or you physically lost, you know, your wallet, even if somebody else finds it, they're not going to be able to use it. So, you know, we know a lot of Bitcoin's been lost forever. So that's another thing. That's another reason I'm bullish on Bitcoin in the future. We talk about supply and demand, but the supply of Bitcoin's limited at 21 million. There's several things that limit it past that. Number one, like we just talked about, a lot are gone forever and never coming back. Number two, a number of wallets that are basically dormant, that have not sold in a year or 5 years or some of them 10 years, right? If those people didn't sell at Bitcoin 70,000 a couple of years ago, they're not all of a sudden going to sell at Bitcoin 42,000, you know, later this year. In my opinion.
You guys are funny. Just so you know, I'm just reading your comments that are really kind of related to what we're talking about. And Rock and Zip, you're not taking in to account there's a halving. And when the halving happens, it makes the difficulty, it cuts it in half. So if it takes 10 minutes to mine 6.25, is it 6.25 or 6.5?
Right now it's 6.25.
6.25. So once the halving happens in April or May of next year, it's going to go to 3.25.
3.125.
or
Yeah, it'll cut in half. So it'll be the same 10 minutes to mine a block. Just
Right,
the
that's not
reward
something.
for doing that gets cut in half every time. And that, if you look at that, if you were to chart that, the first
and
three
another 2
halvings
years
account
after-
for most of the mining of Bitcoin.
And then 2 years after that, it'll be another split.
Right.
roughly,
So think
2
of it.
to 3.
50 years from now, you're going to be getting a quarter of a Bitcoin
Right.
to mine a block. So, that's the line of reasoning that, if Bitcoin does not, one of two things is going to happen. Either the hash rate, the worldwide hash rate is going to suddenly turn around and start declining drastically, or the price of Bitcoin is going to go up over time, or some combination of those two things, which is the most likely. But it does lend itself to Bitcoin, hitting much, much, much bigger numbers in the future.
Martin writes this: a painful lesson I learned was while in the miners in 2021, I decided not to sell, went down 90% during Bitcoin winter. Not making that mistake again. Take profits when you can. Just FYI.
So, I mean, that's what everybody has to decide. There has been, in every cycle so far, there's been a crypto winter, including this one, where I really thought we'd have a bear market, but not a full-blown crypto winter. So, we did have a full-blown crypto winter, and we may have one the next time. But the other piece of that I will say is we have an extremely small sample group of data. So, as other things happen, what has happened in the past is going to become less and less relevant. So, while that may be exactly true, and I think it is important, watch out for all those things. You've got to, this has to do with risk management. So everybody's got to manage their risk. You can't just go long forever in everything. There does have to be, when you buy a stock, you have to have an exit strategy. Sometimes that'll be in 6 months. Sometimes it'll be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. But, there should be a plan. And, for a lot of people, I think, for me, as we get, it's taken a long time for most of mine just to get back into the green. But at some point, I will start putting protection on them through, puts or whatever the case may be. If you're up 200 or 300 or 400 or 500% on a stock by the time we get to the next crypto winter, and for some of these stocks, it's going to be more than that. Remember, we showed Core Scientific from its low until now is up 2,000% in the last 6 months. So, if people are, actually there are no puts on that one right now, but there will be once they get out of Chapter 11.
I wish you would have stayed with the 10. I wish you would have stayed with the 10K challenge. By the way, we're at 4,400. By the way,
nice. That's
yeah.
So the 10K challenge was a train wreck in 2022. Also, the stock market was a train wreck. Bitcoin was a train wreck. That was the worst of all of it. And the Bitcoin miners are a leveraged play on that. And I was heavy into that in that initial challenge. So we've talked about starting something up, or maybe we just restart that one, or maybe just show people the rest of the journey. But we did not get to dollar cost average. And even still, without that, we're working our way back. So, had we been able to dollar cost average in, like a lot of the people on this stream have talked about, they're already up. Some people are up big already. So, a lot of people maybe aren't even back to zero yet. But my guess is they feel a lot better today, even if they're not back to zero, than they did 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. Particularly 6 or 7 months ago, it was ugly. Like, everything was trading under $1, all the Bitcoin miners. And not every single one, but many of these. Bitfarms was at 30-something cents.
We should have put another 10K in then.
Right. That would have been the time. But that was a very hard time to, make that decision and part with your money, because things did not feel good. Nobody felt good in November, December of 2022. That was just after FTX, and we were wondering what's next. There were a lot of other stories coming out. That's what a bottom feels like. But to be fair,
Don't-
we did on this
Don't
channel.
talk about negativity. Don't talk about those things that can get us banned.
Oh,
I won't say
God.
those initials again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings me up to an interesting point, and I don't know if anybody on the channel follows it. Plan B. Have you heard what he's saying today?
What's Plan B's latest and greatest? So before you tell us, George, let me remind everybody, and this is not to criticize Plan B because so many people were wrong. I'll include myself in that group. Plan B had us going in by December of 2022, and I might not be getting this number exactly correct, but it was something like by December of 2022, I think he had us at a Bitcoin 146,000. Right, and he got a couple of months in a row very close to right, although I think people used a little bit of benefit of the doubt, if you will, to say that he was right a few months in a row, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, that plan's dead on. We're going to be at Bitcoin 150,000, and, now it's a year and a half later, and we're at Bitcoin 30,000. So, so that was at least strike two for Plan B, because I assume there was a Plan A. So what's Plan B's Plan C?
So he's saying at the halving, right around the halving. You ready?
Ready.
Hope you guys are sitting down. 532,000.
$532,000 at the halving.
That's what he's saying.
Well, probably everybody on this stream would be
So
thrilled.
I figured split it in half. Split it in half since he was, about half. So 260.
Any of those numbers at the halving are
them.
way above what expectation is, and I think everybody here would be absolutely thrilled. My guess is, and I'll ask this question next, my guess is most people would be thrilled with 100K at the halving. I think that's above. The expectation seems to be right now, the consensus is that at the halving we're going to be somewhere in the 40,000s. That's not my personal opinion. I disagree with that. I think we're going to be higher than that, but that's what the consensus seems to be right now. But you do have a lot of people coming out with a lot of different numbers, and it sounds like Plan B is got some big numbers in mind. Darren said cleared 96K today.
Voted. Yeah, I know. You see that?
Congratulations.
We got 96 people that voted Bitcoin to break out above 32K next week. 75% yes, 25 no.
It's incredible how these always work out this way. So 3/4 of the group think we're going to have our breakout. I'm with you guys. I'm optimistic. I don't know if we missed by 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. I think the next move is up, and I do feel like things are shaping up. It did look like to me in the short term we were going to have a couple, 2, 3, 4 days that we're going to go sideways and then have a move up. We'll see. It's so hard to predict in the short term, but if I had to vote, and I'm not allowed to vote in my own polls, I would have said yes as well. So 3/4 of us said yes. Did you vote, George?
Yeah, I said no.
You said no? Okay.
There's just some interesting numbers that's going to be coming out regarding the economy. And I still don't think it's separated. We had a good week in the NASDAQ overall.
Well,
we had a good week in Bitcoin. It just everything seems to be moving together, to me at least. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
This week, the one thing that I don't, I'm sure it has happened, but is very rare. The Bitcoin miners just destroyed Bitcoin this week.
Oh, yeah.
They just destroyed it. There were days that Bitcoin was down and the miners were up huge. So usually they move a little more in tandem, and it's not always one-to-one, and not every single Bitcoin miner does the same thing every single day. Let's just take a look at let's go to the chart.
Uh-oh.
So you can
Designer is asking, you promised a video on options. Maybe it's a good time to sell short-term covered calls as the way to take some profits.
I looked at that all day today, and I did not buy any. I didn't buy anything today. I didn't sell to open anything. I did sell some of my Bitcoin calls that I owned for profit, and I still hold most of those, but I did continue to average out of those. But yes, that's one of the strategies that I want to go through. Stephen English says, surely we can get more likes. Come on, guys. 73 likes. So thank you, Stephen, for the plug. And so I'll ask, smash the like button if you want to, if you enjoy this live stream, if you had a good week, if you feel like it. Steven said, miners are still below where they were the last time Bitcoin was 30,000. So that's a great point. And I'm just going to pick a chart. George, pick a company. Please pick a miner so that it's not me being biased. I want to show something because I think that's an excellent point,
but
Steven.
the one I was going to pick, what is it? M-I-G-I. Mawson.
Mawson? Okay, let's pick Mawson.
I figured I wouldn't pick one that was you would ever think I would pick.
Let's see if I even have it on this one. The ones that did reverse stock splits, I might have deleted my lines on. I think that's the case here. All right, so 0 for 1. My point is 0 for 1. Try pick again.
You want me to pick another one?
Please.
CleanSpark.
Okay, so CleanSpark. All right, so this is what most of my charts look like. I will say there's a few of the smaller cap that did reverse stock splits, and I really just didn't redo the whole charts to update and account for that. But for most of these companies, I have a green line. That green line is August of 2022 when Bitcoin was at 25,000. So to Steven's point, he's saying we haven't even gotten back to where we were the last time Bitcoin was at 30,000. Well, for most of these companies, and CleanSpark is one of them, CleanSpark needs to go up another, 13 or 14% just to get back to where it was a year ago when Bitcoin was in the middle of a crypto winter and at 25,000. So that point is true for most Bitcoin miners. Even, for instance, some of them have gotten just back there or a little bit above. But Marathon's had a huge run, and even with that huge run, so look at the run Marathon's had, and it's still not back to where it was last August, right? So that's when Bitcoin was at 25,000. Remember, guys, by the way, Marathon was virtually shut down in last June, July, August. There was 1 month where they mined 73 Bitcoin. Yet still, their stock was higher then than it is now. So Bitcoin was $5,000 lower. Marathon's operations were all but shut down, and they're still not even back to that point, which is why I'm so bullish on the miners. And you can't, if you go back to November of 2021, you could say, well, you know what? Bitcoin was at its all-time high. Everything was in a bubble, but we were in the middle of a crypto winter in August of 2022. So this was an awful number. This was a crypto winter type number. And we haven't even gotten back to that for most of the Bitcoin miners. So I think there's a lot of room left to the upside for that reason. This is a number I keep my eye on stock by stock by stock. There are a few that have crossed this line. But even if they've crossed it, a lot of these companies should be double what they were at that point or more. They're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times the exahash. A lot of these companies have financially put themselves in a much better position. So just something to keep your eye on. And if you guys watch the channel, and I know a lot of you do, and if you watch the videos, you'll see I always go back to, whenever I do a deep dive, I go back to this line right here because this is a comparison point. Until we're double this, for the companies that I have conviction in, and that is not every single company on this list. So, if you watch the channel, you know the ones that I have a very high level of conviction. And you guys, everybody has their own different opinions, and all of these companies do different things. So, just the ones I like aren't necessarily the only winners or even necessarily winners. But I do think more of these will win than lose. That's where I'll
listen to what Corey said. I made my first CleanSpark purchase at over $13. My cheapest at $1.90. My average is $3.37. Glad I bought on the way down.
That was critical, and there's so many people that so thanks for sharing that story, and it's so important for people to hear that and to remember, like we just looked. Did we look at CleanSpark? Yeah, so it's still at $6, right? That's still very low. I'm gonna zoom out a little. This is fairly zoomed in. I'll go to the 1 week so we can just take a look. you know, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, there's dilution and all that stuff, and all that's true. So there's a lot of things to take into account. But so I kind of forget these numbers. This was January of 2021. This was a bubble inside of a bubble. CleanSpark, you know, had the perfect storm of, if you remember, in December of 2020, January of 2021, there was this small cap high growth thing where if you were a company and you had no revenue and, you know, but a great story, your stock went bananas. And you can see this was most of this before they ever even thought about Bitcoin mining. They were up 5,000%. So yeah, I'm not looking at 42, but if you fast forward many months later to November, you know, this $23 price point, where's CleanSpark going to be if Bitcoin gets to 100,000? Right? And at this point, CleanSpark, this was November of 2021. So they were at what? 1 exahash, 1.5 exahash. And, you know, they're going to be at 16 or 20 exahash. So, you know, that's my line of reasoning. Now, the right things have to happen. Obviously, if Bitcoin crashes and, you know, if Bitcoin's at 30,000 at the halving, you know, then we're going to have to keep waiting. And some of these companies can't wait that long. So some won't make it.
Hey, a good example, Tom, we haven't talked about this at all, is Grayscale. What's their discount at right now?
Oh, we should check the Grayscale discount. It got down. At one point, it was down to 38. It got as high as 50%.
We're almost at 100, guys. 89. Thank you so much for the likes. And if you're new to the channel, we have a Discord too. I'll put it up if anybody wants to join. I think we're at 1,000 members strong. We're at 1,006. Yes.
All right.
We finally broke it.
Awesome. We broke the 1,000. We're just a couple of members away from getting to 14,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's
so
awesome.
Thanks everybody recently if you've subscribed. If you're not a subscriber and you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. I don't know what happened. So George and I have talked about it. That this was a tough year in YouTube, believe it or not. So thanks everybody for sticking with the channel, and thanks to all the new people. And we're just about, maybe today or tomorrow, going to hit 14,000. That is not our goal. That's not where we thought we would be. But you know, like you guys, we're just sticking it out and doing the work. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoy, and I know you appreciate it.
The grind is real.
Yeah, I mean, it is. That's the real. So the Grayscale discount's all the way down to 26.68% according to Y charts. So that's almost cut in half from what it was. So those who have been in Grayscale have done very well. Those who have been in MicroStrategy, that has outperformed Bitcoin significantly this year. So, okay, so, and I'm looking right now, Rock and Zip just asked, you know, the Grayscale Trust or MicroStrategy, and those are both great options. Darren said he's disliking. You know, well, that probably helps too, Darren. So, thanks for participating.
Okay, Tom.
Duckman,
The
hello
$1 million
to Duckman,
question.
sorry.
The $1 million question, Tom. You ready?
Ready.
What Bitcoin miner is the most undervalued today, right now, as a close of Friday?
All right, give me a minute. I know my top three, so it's going to be one of those three. And you know, things changed today.
Right.
Oh, I gotta zoom in.
Yeah, Steven, 160 people watching. A little bit of life in Bitcoin. People are interested again. Miners taking off.
Welcome and thank you, everybody. Yes. All right. So, which one's the most undervalued? And obviously, this is a matter of opinion. And this answer does change because remember, the Bitcoin miners are moving a lot. So, incredibly, I'm still going to say, I'm going to mention three, but I'm still going to say, even after this run, I'm going to go to the one day.
Big news could be coming to the channel real soon, too, guys. Tom might be sponsored by somebody. Not me either.
Pending news. That's
Yeah, pending news. Pending news, and you'll quadruple overnight. I'm sure even more than quadruple overnight.
88% move in Stronghold over basically the last week to the upside. And even with that, I am going to say that I believe Stronghold, it's a little higher risk. It's a small cap stock. So, nothing's a sure thing. So please, don't just go pour all in, because this could have a pull. Anytime anything runs up 88 or 100%, don't be shocked if there's a pullback before it makes its next move. But I think this is still, only a $40 million market cap company. This is still a micro cap company. This is still magnitude smaller than most of its competitors. So for that reason, I think this is the most undervalued. But I will say, I think Iris Energy is extremely undervalued at this point. I still think Bitfarms is very undervalued. I think CleanSpark is very undervalued. Those are the ones that jump out at me. There's a lot more that I think are going to have nice runs, but to me, those are the ones that, if I was to say, I guess if I put my money where my mouth is, the two that I bought the most over the last month was Iris and Stronghold. And then probably third was CleanSpark. Because Bitfarms, I really haven't bought other than the options, and now lately I've been selling out of some of those options. So, but I do think they have a lot of room to the upside. They've been methodically moving along versus some of these other ones which are moving a lot quicker lately. I mean, GREE was up 33% today, but I really discount that because, having said that, let's just look. Hats off to GREE, even though I'm about to bash them, so I'll compliment them first. Oh, since June 14th, so less than 1 month, they're up 232%.
Tom, what about these miners that you think, might not make it?
Like GREE.
Should they start thinking about an exit plan, or?
This is a very difficult scenario because a lot of these that don't make it, I think, still have the staying power to get to the halving. Some of them that aren't going to make it, in my opinion, that doesn't mean they're going to go out of business. It just means that their business model from where they stand right now to where they need to get to going into and coming out of the halving, I just don't see upside for them. I don't see them being a long-term high-growth company, and there's 4 or 5 that fit that bill, in my opinion. So even if they don't go out of business, I just don't see how it's worth the investment with so many other Bitcoin miners that I think, look like they're going to run and have a much better risk-reward scenario in my perspective. So, like, GREE is one of those where, like, I will stay away from GREE. However, I just missed a 232% run this month. But I'm not FOMOing in, and I'm not sad that I missed it because, you guys know the stocks I'm in. Most of those have done, not 232%, but very, very well. And I'll take that risk reward and win over time versus a company like GREE that I don't have any confidence in GREE. Yeah, they're having a great run because they were down 99.9%. So, you do the math. Most people even
Rock
think
and Zip just said this. I don't know if this is true. Did BlackRock bail out Core Scientific?
BlackRock is involved with Core Scientific. So I'm not going to say they bailed them out. I don't know 100% of their relationship has been disclosed, but my answer to that would be I think that's an overstatement.
Okay.
But while we're on BlackRock, let me bring up, I know I pulled this article up.
In case you're new to the channel, as you do that, Tom, my name's George. This is Tom. Tom studies stocks every day of his life. And we decided to really get into the Bitcoin miners in about 2 years ago now, Tom?
Yeah, I was just looking at 2 years and 3 months.
2 years and 3 months ago is when we really dedicated this whole crypto world, and specifically Bitcoin. He's a purist in Bitcoin. I am not. I like crypto overall.
I'm a
Is that what you say?
semi-purist. You're definitely
Semi-purist.
yeah. You're much more into the rest of the crypto universe than I am. I think there's a half a dozen or a dozen crypto projects that are going to win, and the rest are going to go away. That's my opinion. A lot of people will make a quick buck in the middle, trading them back and forth, but I don't have high conviction. You know, I don't think it's just going to be only Bitcoin, and that's the end of the day, but I do think Bitcoin dominance is growing as we speak, and I think it will always be by far the biggest coin. A lot of people disagree with that. So, you know, that's not a universal opinion by any stretch of the imagination.
You know what? Well, I can't even say what I'm thinking, but I have another idea that I think would be a great idea, by the way, but I won't talk about it now.
Here, let me
I
just
have an
interject.
interesting one,
We were
Tom.
talking on BlackRock. Don't forget
Go
that
ahead.
thought. But just to finish out that, crypto is, quote, digitalizing gold, and Bitcoin has the power to, quote, revolutionize finance. And that from Larry Fink at BlackRock this week. He said that live, I think, on CNBC. Crypto is like
too bad
digital.
you can't. Too bad you can't go about a year ago, and look at what he said.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely fair point. This from the person who said that it's for thieves and et cetera, and it's killing the world, and, you know, the list goes on. So this was an anti-Bitcoin type of a person, and, you know, he's in charge of an awful lot of money. So, you know, you can see crypto is, quote, like digitalizing gold, and Bitcoin has the power to revolutionize finance. I do believe the role of crypto is digitalizing gold in many ways, he said, okay, in a Fox Business interview.
That's interesting.
And it says, Fink's promotion of crypto comes at no surprise, I'm adding, as the world's largest asset manager works on launching a spot Bitcoin ETF.
Nate.
What?
Sorry. No, Nate just wrote something. Edmund said Iris is the most undervalued and CleanSpark is second. Iris undervalued $15. Let's see if I can read what Nate wrote. Living on a bit farm, a wolf as my pet, CleanSpark in my car, chickens are rioting, remodeling the old hut, new fences make it in a stronghold. Our child spoke her first word and said, Mara.
Nate's all in on all of them.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. David, UK, late joining in UK. Tom really helped me understand the miners. Thanks so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for...
Tom, your work is great. A ton of work figuring out what's going on, what's to come, and not FOMOing in or out. Your background gives unique perspectives versus other in the space, Tom. Thank you, Nash V.
Yes, thank you, Nash V. Thank you for all those who said those comments. And I definitely do have a different background than most of the people on YouTube and most of the people, I think, looking at the crypto universe, the Bitcoin miners. So, you know, a lot of different... It's always good to have different perspectives. So hopefully I...
Yeah, and if Rock and Zip said that BlackRock gave $17 million to Core Scientific, and if they gave $17 million, that's nothing.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's not even a drop.
That's what was disclosed, and that was a long time ago, well, relatively speaking. And I don't know if they are a little more in there, but it's not like, you know, they're going to come out of this owning Core Scientific by any stretch of the imagination. Because there's too many creditors ahead of them, right? They had $1 billion in debt. All that's going somewhere.
I would put, by the way, I'd put CleanSpark as probably the most undervalued right now.
Right, and I wouldn't argue with that at all. CleanSpark is one of my biggest positions. I've continued to add to that position in 2023, and I literally did a video on it yesterday. So if you haven't checked out my CleanSpark video, please feel free to check that out. I just put that out yesterday. And there's a lot of info in.
I'm an
It's got
XRP.
a lot
I'm
going on.
becoming an XRP purist, by the way. I'm moving my position up in XRP so large that I'll be. Never mind. I'll be a very large holder of XRP.
And you're already a large holder of XRP.
But XRP.
George has been on XRP, and it's the one extremely disciplined thing inside of the trading of stocks and crypto that you've done. You've dollar cost averaged in through the good, the bad, the ugly, and you hold a very sizable position in XRP.
Yeah, I still think crypto overall. I think if you read crypto, it says cry. If you're not in it, you're crying because you're not having paid time off. See, PTO, cry, paid time off. Crypto means that you're either going to cry or you're going to have paid time off.
Well, we had to cry all year last year.
Yeah.
So.
And remember, people forget Bitcoin is crypto.
Edmund saying, nice thing about Iris, it's a simple story, but hold and let the management build a terrific company, if down by more, because the company gets stronger every month/quarter. Superior management. Bernoulli Fish said, that's super gross, George. I don't know what he's referring to.
I don't know. Maybe I burped or something. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm sorry. I forget that I'm on a stream. You guys are like family to us, so I'm like a dinner table.
Edmund is saying Iris and Terrawolf. Dave UK said, best channel on YouTube, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's obviously...
And one of the things Tom does do, since there's a lot of probably new people watching that don't normally watch, Tom, we have a Tuesday private members stream where we go over a different stock and talk about opportunities. And one of the opportunities that we talked about was Stronghold, SDIG. It was trading at, what was it, $4.50, Tom?
SDIG, when I did the deep dive, it was around $4.
$4. And what is it at now?
And now it just crossed $7 today. And by the way, that was last week's deep dive. So, you know, we happened to really get the right timing on that one. And that's not a coincidence. The members pick the company for me to do a deep dive on. So we get a lot of suggestions. The members vote. And so oftentimes, you know, a lot of times it's companies I know nothing about. And that's one of the other... I'll just pitch the membership because I do think there's a lot of value. I see a lot of members with us right now. So, you know, let us know if you agree, if you're getting your, it's only $5 a month. We just, you know, we're just trying to create a community here. And the members, we have a very good member base and they have a lot of diverse backgrounds. They know different industries. So, you know, we get a lot of expertise. So we don't get a bunch of random recommendations when I do a deep dive. Usually it's the people that know the company, have done the deep dive of their own and have conviction in it. And, you know, we even then vote amongst those to pick a winner. So we've had a lot of very good stocks.
We have the wealthiest members on YouTube average.
That is a statement according to George.
It's unconfirmed, but true.
We can neither confirm nor deny that statement, but I will tell you, we have a lot of very experienced traders, and you know, a lot of you guys are on today, so I appreciate all of your input all the time. That's what makes this channel a good channel, in my biased opinion.
Oh, and I love Solano too, by the way. I mean, we're just focusing on the miners. We don't really go on into these different, you know, coins. You know, some of them are poop coins, some of them are real good case for what they're used for, and then some are not. You just be careful. Yeah, admin is 50% of the wealth now. Steven just said that.
Gary's asking me if I can do the poll now on our public live stream versus our members only. Can we do the poll on whether or not people here own a miner stock? So I'm going to do you own any Bitcoin miner stocks? So now, since we, you know, all are welcome here, let's hear from the whole group. who here owns or trades in Bitcoin miner stocks? And then later we'll talk about, do you own Bitcoin directly? And I know, to me, I always break it up 4 ways. There's owning Bitcoin directly. There's the Grayscale Trust. There's owning MicroStrategy, as its own strategy, and then the Bitcoin miners. And then obviously, I track 18 Bitcoin miners, so there's a lot of those to pick and choose from. But those are a lot of different ways to take a play at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is just one way to take a play in cryptocurrency. So George has talked about XRP. There's obviously 5 or 6 other big projects. I'll bring up your favorite thing, George. Let me bring this list up. I'll tell you what baffles me.
You know what I object to, Tom?
What? Yeah, I won't say the rest of the quote, but yes, I do.
Thanks, Darren.
What happened? Why is USDC at a $27 billion market cap and Tether at $83 billion?
Don't bring up. Why are you going negative? Why are you doing this?
Nope. I'm just asking a question. It's a strange. They were very similar at one point in time, and now obviously they've gone in massively different directions. Now, initially, USDC had some exposure, or we thought they had some potential exposure on the SVB situation, but they got all their money back out of that. And Tether's one that, let's just say George wants to know more about Tether. That's not negative. Is that a fair statement, George?
Yeah, that's true. But we're never going to know. Aren't they based out of China?
More transparency is what you're looking for.
Is Tether based out of China? Where are they based out of?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. And I think that's still one of the, the clouds in the sky that could start raining on us at any time.
But in a different development, you'll see Litecoin at number 10. It has been a long, long time since Litecoin was in the top 10. That was a perennial top 10, since its inception, and it fell away. And I really feel like it's kind of backed into the top 10. This is as a result of a lot of other projects getting crushed more than Litecoin did.
This was today's article on Crypto News Flash. Litecoin jumps 25% in 24 hours.
So there you go. There's your jump in. There's how it got into the top 10. It hasn't been there in a while, and it's something that I kind of ignore. It just seems like its time had come and gone, and it didn't do what everybody initially thought it was going to do or hoped it was going to do. Well,
it's funny because I just had this long conversation with my son about this the other day, about Litecoin and how it's very big in the gaming industry.
Oh, Litecoin in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
All right. See, maybe there's a place for it that I'm not familiar with. So let's just take a second and talk big winners on the day. In the Bitcoin miners, we had, so first I'll say GREE, even though I don't pay a lot of attention to GREE, but the truth is if you hold GREE stock, it was up 33.59% today. That is a monster move to the upside. We looked at their chart. They're up over 230% in less than a month. So that's been a big, big move to the upside. It still leaves them as one of the smallest market cap companies out of all the Bitcoin mining companies. So, one way to look at that is maybe there's a lot more room to go. The other way is, that's one that I think is a high risk that I stay away from. Not financial advice, just my personal opinion. But we had a lot of double digits today. So CleanSpark was up 11%, Riot 14%, Cypher was up over 10%. Iris, you got to round up, but they were up 9.5%. Let's see. TerraWolf was up 10.5%. Argo Blockchain 10%. Stronghold almost 14%. Those are the double digits. Everything else other than Bit Digital, everything was green or very green today. On a day where you can see, this orange line, for those of you who don't follow the channel, this is where Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed yesterday. So that was 4 p.m. Eastern time yesterday. So you can see in 24 hours, Bitcoin did exactly nothing. It went from down to kind of back where we started, but yet the Bitcoin miners were on fire today. So, and that's kind of been what's happened all week this week. Darren said, I really don't care about any of those useless coins. Oh, see, now I did. Now I've done something. Oh, there we go. I'm back. What? Sorry, guys. My personal screen just went wild, so I lost everything for a second there. I'm back. Anyway, Darren was saying, I really don't care about any of those useless coins. I hold enough mining stocks and options for generational monies with 24 months. I'm out. Leon, XRP, Cosmic Contrarian. At 100K Bitcoin, these miner prices will be staggeringly high. So I agree with that. You know, I think there's massive, if Bitcoin gets to 100K, and that becomes the big question, and obviously none of us know the answer as we sit here, but we all have our opinions. I think it's a when, not if, but, you know, if and when it gets to 100 and 200, etc. And, you know, think about it. Even if that's 10 years from now, if, you know, if Bitcoin's at $250,000 10 years from now, first of all, a lot of people will be disappointed because there's some big names out there that think it's going to be a lot higher than that. But even if that's where it is, you know, you're going to see massive returns. David Wilson said the marathon report is worth talking about. Michael Johnson, Tom has great information and is always professional. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. David Wilson saying Abu Dhabi's already producing for Marathon. So, yeah, that's going to be 7 exahash ultimately. Marathon owns 20% of that joint venture. So, when you see Marathon's exahash, it does not include the 20% that they have in that joint venture. So, that is in addition to what they report. And obviously, there's money behind all of that to get, you know, if that thing works, they could go, you know, multiple times larger than they are right now. So Ty is saying, yes, Marathon has just 1.4 exahash there because they have a 20% interest in that. But, you know, I think that's only just begun. I think there's a lot more room for growth there. But I would rather see them, that to me is bonus or, you know, the cherry on top. I would like to see them focus on their current operations, the ones they've been trying to get up and running for the last 2 years. They have made significant progress, much later than, you know, they said they were going to, but they're putting up big numbers, and they had a good month this month. I will tell you guys, I did a bunch of deep dive videos, and on their surface, a lot of these reports look no good this month because almost every single Bitcoin miner mined less in June than they did in May. But remember, there was all those bonus fees from the ordinals, and, you know, the difficulty level went up as usual. And without those fees, I think you're going to find, and I'm going to put a video out this weekend. There's still 3 companies or 4 companies that have not reported, so I wish everybody would have their report out. But the vast majority of these companies and all of the top 6 were down anywhere from 16 to 22% month over month. So, you know, a lot of people have said, oh, this person's report was awful, they blew it, but please make sure to look at all the other reports because it's pretty much the same as everybody else. TerraWolf is the one so far that has improved, but they're not yet in the top 6, and, you know, they have room to grow. But, you know, Marathon, Riot, CleanSpark, Bitfarms, Cypher, Iris Energy, they were all down month over month. And it's not because they had a bad month. I think most of those I thought were good reports. The one that is really interesting to me. Oh, let's take a 1-minute break and look at the our poll here because we're once again at 100%. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm surprised at I'm not shocked, I guess, but a little surprised we're at 100%. So, all right, well, good. Congratulations then congratulations to 100% of the people, because you probably had a very good week with at least that portion of your portfolio. I'm going to end that one. I know some of us are heavier than recommended in the Bitcoin miners from an overall portfolio standpoint. I'm in that group, but it's working out, lately. Nash V, agree, this is just the beginning. We're over 100 likes, but you can feel free to still smash the like button anyway, because it does help the live stream. Thanks, everybody. This might be our biggest live stream. So let's smash the like button and get. It is or it isn't?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, everybody.
What can I say? You have a good week. Good things happen.
Well, it's true. It's no surprise. I mean, the Bitcoin miners had a great week. I think our subscribers and I know our members had a great week. So we'll take them. And hopefully it's many more to come. Darren said CleanSpark July report was stunning. Stunning in a good way. I thought CleanSpark's July report was very good. I talked about the fact that a lot of their growth is yet to come. So, but if you've read their press releases and been following their story, that's what they've been saying. So I think they're on track. They got some work left to do the rest of the year, but they could have next month's report could be staggering for CleanSpark. They should have a fairly large jump in exahash from June to July. So I'll be looking for that for sure. And I think they ended up this month, they did mine more than Riot, but I do want to talk about Riots for a minute. First, George, you got a poll you got in mind? Do you got anything else on your mind at the moment?
My mind is blank. I have a brain cloud.
My mind's a blank.
You remember the brain cloud?
That is, yes, Joe versus the volcano.
Yep, Tom Hanks.
Classic. I have a brain. Did you get a second opinion?
No, I didn't get one.
For those of you, I think many of you on the stream are somewhere plus or minus of our age bracket. So if you didn't see Joe versus the volcano, it was a classic 80s flicks with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, and they did Sleepless in Seattle together. I digress here, but it was just a little fun movie that not too many people saw. So
Steven's diet's going good. I eat fish every day. 2 times usually a day I eat fish. I've added almost a half an inch on my arms. Lost over 11 inches on my stomach now.
Nice. That's incredible.
Oh, it's insane. And then I figured I have hair and I'm in shape. So I'm going to my 35-year class reunion at the end of this month.
To show
sounds like a chick flick.
Kept your hair. I have not been to my reunions. Oh, so what? You're saying that Joe versus the Volcano sounds like a chick flick? You know what? It probably is. If you had to technically classify it, it's probably a chick flick, but that is not always bad. There's some legendary chick flicks. I do have a list of things that's probably a term that offends a lot of people, so my apologies. I think it's a genre of movie, so I think it's a fair use of the term. And listen, hey, couples need movies they can go to, and there are movies specifically made so that both men and women in general can enjoy the same movie. And, that's when you win, like Titanic. I think Titanic was a chick flick. They just disguised it with, a massive amount of action. David is saying, when are we getting Mara monthly production update? So they did put out their monthly report. We can take a look at that. They mined, I'm going to say the wrong number. I think it was like 961 Bitcoin or something like that. Let's go look. I opened all of these.
You're funny, Gary.
979 Bitcoin. So yes, that is down, right? Because they did 1,245 Bitcoin in May. So they were down to 979 in June. But again, that's down, I think, 21%. And that is fairly in line with what the rest of the industry did from May to June. Also, you know, the other way I look at this is, and it's the second best month they've ever had in the history of their company. So, you know, to me, I look at this as a good report. It was fairly consistent with the market overall, with all of their, you know, peers. It's the second best month they've ever had in the history of their company, and they continue, I think, to move in the right direction. They still have some exahash that's up and running and ready, but not energized yet, so there's more to come, I think, for them. Financially, they're in good shape. So I'm feeling a lot better.
Carmack, the artist, that is the funniest thing. Yep, my arms grew an inch. It wasn't easy. I kept stretching them.
Yeah, which machine? I don't need that. That's the last thing I need.
But my whole thing was I felt like I didn't look like I ever worked out in a day in my life. And I've worked out my whole life. That was the reason to finally like get in shape.
Yeah, by get in shape, you're talking about just losing the weight, really, because
yeah,
like you said,
no,
you're
but
a
I need to get my
fanatic
arms
at working out.
Because of my size, I need to get my arms a wee bit bigger. And Tom had an inch on me on my arms. That's why I went for it.
Not
you know what it is?
Tom.
It's triceps, by the way.
If
you want to get big arms, you get big triceps.
That's right. It's a bigger part of the arm. I think most people on here age. That said Gary. I think
they do.
I think everybody.
So, Tom, why isn't Marathon a lot bigger than Riot? Because they have all those coins.
Well, Riot has a lot of coins. They have over 7,000 coins on their balance sheet. Riot has no debt. Marathon has $733 million in debt. Now, it's convertible debt at 1%. So, to me, I view that very similarly to equity. But, you know, that is a point of contention for a lot of people. So, they have very, very different business models, would be my answer. And yeah, Marathon's mining more Bitcoin, but I'm going to take a look at Riot's monthly update next, because they actually did something interesting that is going to happen to them, I think, at least once a year, every single year. And it happened this past month.
I know. As you're pulling that up, Tom, I'm going to jog your brain for a minute. Remember the oracles back in May?
Yeah, the ordinals that created all these extra fees.
Yeah. Could that happen again?
Well, hold that thought, because I have an article for you on that one.
Okay.
BRC
this is not planned, guys.
No, George just asked me questions, and I usually try and pull up. You can see I have I don't know if you can see. I have 30 tabs up in my prep for these things. BRC 69 token standard promises to reduce ordinals fee by 90%. So, where I do think the fees will continue to be maybe higher than, you know, they were at historic lows for a year or a year and a half. This looks like it's going to mitigate the chance of them spiraling out of control again. Luminex, a launchpad for Bitcoin ordinals, has released a modified version of the BRC20 token standard, claiming a 90% reduction in minting costs. With transaction fees on the rise, Luminex hopes reducing minting fees will help to sustain the growth of ordinals on the network. So there was a mad dash with these ordinals, which essentially are NFTs. They're just on the Bitcoin blockchain versus the Ethereum blockchain, right? I'm not aware of any other difference than that. So they have a different word for them. Let us know in the chat if there's some nuanced differences beyond that. But that, you know, there was an explosion of those in May, and it caused, you know, every time a Bitcoin miner solves a block, they get the Bitcoin that they minted, which right now is 6.25 Bitcoin per block, but they also get the fees that were generated in the transactions that occurred while mining that block. And, you know, in the past, for the past few years, that's been a quarter of a Bitcoin or a half of a Bitcoin per block. That jumped up to 4 Bitcoin, 5 Bitcoin. There were a few blocks where, you know, the fees were over 7 Bitcoin, which means the fees were more than they got in the Bitcoin that they mined. So, you know, that drastically increased May's production numbers. And, you know, this, so I don't know, I'm reading this article. I don't know that this will solve that problem for all everywhere. This looks like one potential partial solution. But I do think there will be times in the future where those fees jump up again. And I think particularly as the halvings go on, those fees will be more and more important, right? Because even if you get 1 Bitcoin in fees, when the reward's only 3 Bitcoin, that 1 Bitcoin makes a big difference. So we'll see. You know, we got some time to figure all that out. But yeah, that's a good question, George. And there just happened to be.
No, I was just curious. I was just wondering why. I mean, first of all, why it happened and if it will ever happen again. But obviously, they don't want it to happen again.
They don't. I don't think they. Yeah, I mean, things got jammed up for a while. So, and right now, you know, like I said, I've never bought or sold an NFT or an ordinal, and I think right now, those are not doing well at all at the moment. So that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be forever, but that's what's going on right now.
And what the heck are they?
I mean, ordinals are the same type of scenario. They're basically NFTs, but they're on the Bitcoin blockchain, not the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay. Where do you buy them?
Ordinal. Well, that place we just talked about was one place.
Oh, okay.
Bernoulli Fish is saying the fees are extremely important going forward long term. So I agree with that. I think as time goes by, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 halvings from now, that fee is going to be critical to Bitcoin miners. Gary's saying Marathon beats all other miners except Hut on cost per coin. Iris and Wolf are not even close. I don't know if he's saying that ironically. It's the exact opposite of that, or maybe he's saying it inversely. Marathon has right now. Marathon's cost per coin is a little bit higher than everybody else's. That has been improving. The last 4 quarters in a row, that's been improving. And I'm not so. I will tell you right now, because several people have accused me. It's funny. For a year I got accused of being the #1 Marathon hater on the internet. And, you know, now that I've said a few positive things, people think that I love Marathon. I'm just calling it like I see it. I really, really try. I'm sure somewhere, you know, it's hard to avoid 100% bias for any human being, but I'm just trying to interpret the data, and that is my background, so I try to stick to the numbers big time. Marathon was still over 15,000 cost per coin in the last quarter, which was the quarter ended March 31st, is the last reporting we got from all the Bitcoin miners. So that was among the higher. Hold on, timeout. Thank you very much from Phonebookson, a $20 super chat. I'm up 60% this year. All right, this is just the beginning. If you guys are in the same boat because of Tom, then share the love. Thank you very much, Phonebookson. Congratulations on being up 60% on the year. So that's huge. I mean, you know, so I hope all you guys don't take for granted, and I try not to take for granted, that this has been a good year, right? Last year was awful. So, you know, we had to feel awful for a whole year. So, you know, take the opportunity to feel good when things are going well. You know, you deserve it. Brunelli Fish is saying fees will essentially be the only revenue source long term. I project that the fees will always be more than the blocks inside around the year 2030, maybe sooner. So that's probably true, right? Like over the next 100 years, it's mostly going to be fees, not the actual Bitcoin mined that the Bitcoin miners live off of.
Uh-oh. Hello? Hey, honey. I'm getting the first check-in.
The first check-in. It's getting close. Thank you again, Phonebook's on for the super chat.
The time is out. I can't play anymore. That's what I'm getting told.
The time to come in. That's it, George.
It was fun. It goes by too fast, though, Tom.
I know. Hey, listen, especially on good days like this, time flies. But thank you very much for your time and all of your contributions.
Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna sneak out. I'll be watching as I travel into the city of Atlanta. See you guys.
Enjoy your fish for dinner.
Fish for dinner.
All right. Enjoy. Thanks again.
Have
a good night, George.
See you, Tom.
All right. That was George. Let's see. So now I got to stay up on the chat. That's usually George does a good job helping me with that because I'm not a good multitasker. So Tim is asking, doesn't Mara's cost per coin include power and hosting? Are you including operations, overhead, leases, employees, facility? So here's what I include when I compare cost per coin. And I do this for a very specific reason. Because everybody has a different model, you know, in other words, Riot prides themselves on being almost completely vertically integrated. Now, Marathon calls themselves vertically integrated, but it's in a different way. They have their own pool, so, you know, they avoid different fees. So what I consider, and, you know, I'm using accounting terms. I am using excluding depreciation because that is a non-cash cost, right? That's where you've already spent your money on the machines. Now you're getting your return on your investment. So every single penny that one of these companies has to spend in cash to mine a Bitcoin, whether that's energy or hosting or whatever the case may be, those are all their direct costs per coin. So it does no good to have the cheapest energy cost per coin if all your other fees added up put together makes your actual direct cost per coin more than everybody else. So you've got to count all the fees. So in doing so, it's comparing apples to apples. So I do think that's very important. And it's difficult because, like I said, all these companies do have very, very different business models. So for each one of these companies, energy, no matter which business model you have, energy is the vast majority of that direct cost. But, you know, for some people, it's 75% of that cost. For some people, it's 90% of that cost. For some of the, not people, I should say, for some of the Bitcoin miners. So, yes, there are other costs included in direct costs. I do exclude depreciation. So, and I put that out once a month. I do a video and compare the cost. Once a quarter, when everybody has reported, I compare everybody's updated cost per coin. I wish that there was a way to do that more frequently, but the information does not exist until we get a 10Q on a quarterly basis or a 10K at the end of the year. There's no other reliable information. Now, several of these companies have started to talk about their cost per coin in their press release. So, you know, my one hesitation is those don't always, once the financial statements come out, I have found that those don't always necessarily line up. But let me find an example of that. I know Iris Energy does that. Let me go look at. So if we look at Iris Energy. Okay, so 5.6 exahash is where they're at right now. And so Bitcoin mined 428. So just to circle back to an earlier point. Bitcoin mined, so Iris Energy in May produced 508 Bitcoin. So this is what I'm saying. Like, just be careful, because the top 5 or 6 companies all had this, 15 to 22% reduction. So they mined 428 Bitcoin in June, and they're saying their electricity cost per Bitcoin is $13,000. So we'll see how much additional cost. They're very vertically integrated, so they may not have a lot of costs past that. But this is not their all-inclusive direct cost per coin. And that's the most, we're trying to figure out the equation that I look at, how I look at this. And again, my background is in accounting. I was a CPA. And so, obviously I'm skewed towards looking at that. And I spend a lot more of my time looking at financial data probably than most people. I do chart analysis and all that stuff. But the core of what I'm looking at is these, especially with the Bitcoin miners, it's so quantifiable. And the more information we get, the longer time goes by, the better this data is getting. More and more of the Bitcoin miners are providing more of this data on a monthly basis. So, this is very helpful information. It's one of the things I love about investing in this space. So when we compare, and you're going to see this number goes up. I want to bring up another one, because I want to talk about TeraWulf for a minute. Okay, TeraWulf self-mined 347 Bitcoin. They did have a good month. They beat their previous month, but they are in growth phase. You can see they increased their hash rate capacity by 25% month over month. So for that reason, they were able to mine 8% more Bitcoin month over month. So you can even still see, as a percentage, they suffered the same, decrease in number of Bitcoin per exahash as everybody else did. They just increased their exahash. But what I wanted to show you is power cost per Bitcoin, $9,320. So that went up significantly for them. This is a company where I really want to see their quarterly financial statements a couple of quarters in a row, because they've talked about extremely low power costs. There are months where they've said this number was $6,000. So that's why I want to trace this through. I like to wait for the quarterly financials and then take a look what really happened. This is what they reported. And I'm not saying they're false reporting. That's not my point. My point is these numbers can change from month to month, and it can be misleading by grabbing any one number. So looking at that quarterly and watching the quarterly progression, I think tells a better, more comprehensive story of what's going on with these Bitcoin miners. Let's see. I'm going to try and catch up here. Marathon. Gary said, Marathon 15,000 when curtailing heavily. If they run miners full-time, like other miners, cost per coin is likely much higher. There is a cost to curtailing. So, yes, and a lot of these companies, particularly in Texas, there's some mandatory curtailing. There's some voluntary curtailing because energy costs do spike. For different companies, there's a lot of companies. Texas is a big Bitcoin mining area, as you guys know. There's also a lot of companies that have a lot of Bitcoin mining in Canada. Those two have very different cycles, right? The extreme temperatures in Canada obviously are in the winter, while the extreme temperatures in Texas are in the summer. So that's the biggest demand on the grid. Now, every once in a while, Texas is also prone to getting a big winter storm. So, they get it on both ends a little bit. But if I go to RIOT, so let me just switch over to RIOT, because for RIOT, they have an energy program where at peak energy times, they specifically don't mine Bitcoin and they sell their energy. They have a fixed energy agreements, and they're able to sell that back to the grid at peak times and provide energy that is needed. There are times where, 80 or 90% of their energy they're kicking back to the grid, which, if you think about it, means without that, there may be rolling blackouts. Because remember, they have a 700 megawatt facility, and they're about to build a gigawatt facility, which is 1,000 megawatts on top of that. So, when things get too hot and the energy, demand gets that big, they give a lot of money back. But unlike other companies, and they're not the only company that gets this, but I will tell you, they get a lot more of this than all the other companies. You'll see, let's find this here. Power sales, $8.4 million. Demand response revenue, which is essentially the same thing, 1.6. That's $10 million they got in what effectively ends up being credits against their energy costs. So they got $10 million in 1 month. Now, that's probably going to be their one big month of the year, but most years they have at least 1 month where something like this happens. So when you look, they only produced 460 Bitcoin versus 676 in the previous month. So that's a great big reduction, but they did get an extra $10 million. So that helps. A lot of these companies have to self-curtail just because the energy cost is too much, and they get nothing for that. They just don't waste the money on exorbitantly high energy costs. That's a part, and that's a part of being an efficient miner. You do not want to be buying energy if it's spiking and it's doubled or tripled or quadrupled in price at any given, hour or day or whatever the case may be. So whereas some companies just dial it down so that they don't waste that money, Riot gets to actually sell that power and get paid big bucks for it. And the worse the draw on power, the worse the demand need is, the more money they get paid for this. So you'll see some months it's small. Power sales in the previous month was $500,000 versus 8.4 million. So, that varies, but this is a positive for Riot. And Riot has some other things that I know a lot of you guys have, and I have some questions about. So hopefully we'll get them back on the channel and they can clarify a few things. I'll tell you, the one in specific is I'd like to understand more about their hosting, because whereas their cost per coin on their Bitcoin mining side seems to be very low and they're making huge gross profits, they're getting killed on hosting. So I would like to know more about that and see what direction that's going to head in over the course of time. Right now, quarter over quarter, it moved in the wrong direction. So, some great news for them, some big questions I have for them. So, there's pros and cons to all these Bitcoin miners. That's what takes up, so much time to. I personally spend a lot of time looking at all this, as you guys know. Bernoulli Fish said, Tom, a lot of us in Texas have programs like that. It's more profitable to sell back at peak times, which supports the grid. Yeah. I mean, and they have an energy program, and that's not just for Bitcoin miners. ERCOT has an energy program across a lot of industries. It's just most industries can't afford to do what a Bitcoin miner can do, which is just shut down. Right? Because it's discretionary, Bitcoin miners can just stop and sell, 50% of their energy or 100% of their energy back to the grid when the grid needs it, versus other companies that, they can't do that. They can't stop running their business like that. Let's see. I'm just trying to multitask here. Tom, how do you think Riot is going to pay for all that expansion? They had $150 million in cash at the end of March, but we have no idea how much cash they have now. And I can't remember if they've reported their cash. I remember thinking they still have a similar amount, but yes, it's nowhere near enough. They've announced. So step one of their expansion plan is to get from 12.5 exahash, I think, to 21 point something exahash. They bought 7.6 exahash worth of machines with an option to buy another 15 exahash of machines past that. Now, they have 1 gigawatt facility in Texas that they're building. So, between the 700 megawatts they have plus the gigawatt that they're going to have, I haven't done the math, but I'm guessing they have enough to utilize all those machines. The question is, where's all that money going to come from, right? They got to build out all the infrastructure and buy, a lot of machines. So I think step one of this, obviously, there's only a few places this money can come from. It's not going to come from debt. Zero of it will come from debt. Riot has no debt, and I think any Bitcoin miner that's taking on substantial debt's making a big mistake, in my personal opinion. So it's not going to come from debt. They're cash flow positive company. So some of this will come from cash flow, but that certainly isn't enough to cover it either. So they have some cash, they're cash flow positive, but ultimately the remaining is going to come from dilution of their stock. So, that's something we need to know. How much stock dilution is going to occur? And all of these companies that are growing, really, a lot of their growth is going to have to come from stock dilution. So that is just a fact of life in the Bitcoin mining world going into the halving here. And I think a lot of these companies have gotten aggressive trying to position themselves for the halving. So, yes, I do expect some dilution. But having said that, if we go look, give me a second. If you go look at Riot, it's a lot easier to raise money diluting your stock when your market cap is $2.75 billion. Right? If they need $275 million, that's 10% dilution of their company. Not a big deal. If you're talking about growing your company 50% or 100%. So, that's the other ratio that I try to look at it. And to me, that's how I determine, they talk about, well, is the stock dilution accretive? Well, to me, that's a big part of the equation. If you can increase your business by 50% with 10% dilution, that works for me. But it's why when these tiny market cap companies, they're in no position, Stronghold isn't going to go borrow $100 million because they're a $40 million market cap company. That would be, 200% dilution. So they don't have the ability to do that. Versus a Riot, which could go raise $250 million, and it's not a big deal from a dilution standpoint. So one of the benefits for, Riot and Marathon have a big leg up. They were first on the NASDAQ. They are much more institutional adoption. You can see, at $15, 40 million shares traded today. And Marathon is going to be even more than that. It always is. So at $15, 60 million shares traded today for Marathon. So there's massive liquidity. So their ability to raise money exists. Their market cap makes it so their money is cheaper to get. So I think that's how they're going to get from here to there. But, hopefully they use their best discretion and, try and be opportunistic. Bernoulli Fish said, I watched the energy prices. They spike up 10 to 100x during the summer. So, yeah, so you're if you're there, you're probably have a better pulse on it than I do. But I do know that, there's massive spikes. And, the Bitcoin mining companies are now, some of them, managing this on a minute-by-minute basis to make sure that they're keeping their efficiency level at the right spot. So, that doesn't necessarily mean that the energy spikes 100x for a month straight, but there might be 4 hours somewhere on a given day where, they need the energy and they pay whatever they pay for it. Edmund said, Tom, Wolf has the low power cost come online in early May. June power cost went up because Mariner 2 opened in June. The Wolf monthly power cost exactly hit their target of 0.35 cents per megawatt hour. So I know that's a good cost, and even still, even at $9,000 a coin, that's one of the best costs. I think only Cypher is in that league. So, Cypher, Cypher and Wolf are some of the lowest cost per coin. I just want to see where it all settles out. So, is it going to be more like that $9,000? Was the 6,000 the anomaly? Edmund is saying Tom Wright is not the only power seller. All Texas miners do. They do, Edmund, but all of the rest of them put together don't get as much money as just Riot does. So a lot of them do get some benefit from that, but Riot is by far the biggest beneficiary of that. But you're right. A lot of other companies participate in that. And it does help mitigate the cost per coin. Edmund, Tom, when are you going to do a Wolf interview? You promised. So I know I have to do a Wolf interview. I'm backed up on interviews, and I did say that I was going to do one, and I absolutely will do a Wolf interview. That has not fallen off of my radar. I have 3 or 4 interviews that I'm planning. I just did one. I'm trying to space them out a little bit, but yes, that is in my next probably 2 or 3 people that I'm going to talk to will be Iris Energy. So thank you for reminding me of that, Edmund. That is on my radar. Darren saying Iris has never diluted, so that's true. I don't know. Maybe someday they will have to. They have an awful lot of infrastructure that they're going to build out. They're still looking at building out another like 560 megawatts. So I don't think they're going to hold that title forever, but it is nice that they've gotten to this point. And they're a top 5 or 6 Bitcoin miner, and they haven't had to do any dilution to get there. So that's spectacular. So AP Squad said, I live in Dallas. I think Riot Energy incentive will be bigger in July because it's hotter in July compared to June. So I guess we'll see. They did say every month where that number is in excess of $1 million, they're going to report it on their monthly operational report. So if it's not on their report, we know that means it was an insignificant amount. If it's on there, if it's a significant amount, they're going to tell us every single month. So we're going to get to find out. Andrew's saying, Tom, can you put your charts in the members lounge in Discord? Maybe a new tab for them in the members lounge. So I want to find a way to get charts for. I may do it that way or just through members only videos where I go through some charts that, I can't. It would take too long for me to share all of my charts on all of the public videos, but I can definitely find a way to get some more of those to the members. So that's a good suggestion. Tim is saying, do you think Riot making so much money selling power in Texas is going to attract more anti-Bitcoin mining in Texas? Fair or not seems to be a hot topic in the region. So it is a topic in the region. They've got this absolutely backwards, but you're right, Tim. That's a talking point for sure. But the truth is, like I said, if Riot didn't kick that energy back to the grid, right? And remember, they built the infrastructure. So it's not like, oh, that energy was all there and Riot's wasting it. No, they built the infrastructure to create extra energy to make the grid bigger. So, when they kick back 90% of their energy, that's energy that wouldn't exist. So at peak needs, that would do one of two things: either cause the cost of energy to spike even more than it is right now, or potentially, running into blackout scenarios like California does. It's not impossible. It's not unprecedented. California has rolling blackouts regularly and have for years. So, Riot and a lot of the other Bitcoin miners that are down there have massively increased the power grid infrastructure. So you're right. It is a talking point. So, they're just the Bitcoin miners, and it seems like they held their own because there was legislation. It all got shot down. All the legislation went in the favor of Bitcoin miners, despite the massive FUD that was put out there. So I'm hopeful that most people get the message that this is helping the grid, not hurting the grid. Darren saying a Jason Less interview is needed. Yes. Yeah, I want to talk to Jason. I've already you know, I may have to do 2 per month. I'm trying to do 1 per month. I want to get Hive on the channel. With Frank's talked about coming on, so I want to do that. We definitely got to get Paul on, because that's something I did promise I would do from Wolf. I do want to talk to Jason. We just talked about some of the questions that I have for Jason, so that would be a good update as well. So, you know, I'd like to talk to everybody again. So hopefully, you know, if they're willing participants, hopefully we can get all of these people back on in the next few months. So Darren's asking an Iris interview. So yeah, I mean, so you guys can see how there's a lot of interviews I want to do, and there's only so many that I can do, but I will try to get to everybody. You know, if I could get to everybody once or twice a year, that would be great. So I'm gonna try to make it my business to do that, and that's probably enough for people to, you know, stay in the loop. It's not like they can come on and give us new and enlightening information every month anyway. Edmund said, Wolf does not generally have to curtail operations. They have the most stable power available and cost, period. So that is from Edmund, and I know he does his research. And I know also, so Edmund's very big on TerraWolf and Iris Energy. And you guys know I've been adding to my Iris position big time. So I don't want to speak for you, Edmund, but I think you've said that a lot on the channel, that, you know, Iris and TerraWolf. Michael Anthony saying isn't too hot in Texas. I mean, it's hot. It's hot in Texas. It's hot. You know what? It's hot everywhere in the summer. That's just the reality. Benny said, I still believe HUT will break all-time highs, but I would like to sell the pops and buy back in on the pullbacks to increase share count. Goal is to have 20 to 25K shares. Yeah, HUT has had a fantastic run lately. I think they are getting some, their high-performance computing center is definitely giving them exposure to this AI, you know, money influx. So that has helped them and a few other Bitcoin miners as well. Stephen English said, come on, you know Marathon gets the most views. Fred's the man. So yeah, I would love to talk to Fred. Out of all the people we just mentioned, Fred's the one that I've never really heard back from. So I'm not, you know, he may not be interested in talking to me. So I'll reach out again. They did, their head of investor relations was talking about coming on the channel, but I really think just what Steven just said, people want to hear from Fred. So I feel like if I can't get Fred, I don't know that it makes sense to do an interview, especially since there's so many other people to talk to in demand. So I will do my best to move that up my priority list, is to get more interviews on the channel. It sounds like everybody's interested in potentially getting more interviews. So we will work on that. You know, we've talked to most of these companies over the course of the last year, but it is coming back around time to talk to a lot of them again. And there are a few we have not yet talked to. And Andrew is saying Any only has a $25 million market cap. They did 77 Bitcoin in May because of the reverse stock split. Not up much from the low. What are your thoughts? I think you're 100% right, Andrew, and I suspect Any is going to have, I don't know that they're going to have the run that Stronghold is going to have. I looked at the two of those, and I picked what, in my opinion, was the one that I thought was going to have a bigger run-up. But I think Any is in a very similar situation to where Stronghold was a month ago. So I do expect a push up in Any. They're, you know, $25 million market cap. That's a company that's gone through a big transition. They've had change in leadership. They've had to completely redo who they are as a company and what their plans are and what they're doing. But it now seems to me like they're on the right track, right? Things have, their production's gone up drastically. To their credit, even in their lowest of lows, they were putting out a monthly operational report You know, sometimes it would be we mined 10 Bitcoin this month, but they put the report out anyway and they let us know exactly what they're doing. And now you're right, they were up to 77 Bitcoin in May. So, you know, that's a gigantic growth. And they grew their exahash substantially as well. Now, I'm not sure how much further they can go in the short term from an exahash standpoint, but I do think they haven't gotten their pop yet from, you know, the hit they took on the reverse stock split and the fact that, you know, they've had to reinvent themselves. They have not had their turn yet. They have not had their run. So I do think, you know, it's my opinion that they will have a run. I picked Stronghold and I didn't want to pick them both. That was just my personal way to go about this, but I do think it's a similar scenario. Edmund said, Tom, you're really great. Thank you so much for all your hard work and expertise. Thanks for saying that, Edmund, and thank you for your work and expertise. You've contributed a lot to the channel through the comments as well, so much appreciated. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up, guys, unless anybody has any other pressing matters. We'll just take a look at where Bitcoin is at. So just right exactly where we were at the close of the equity markets yesterday. So very sideways. For those of you who didn't see this, you know, this is the Bitcoin miner big board. Huge days. More than half of the Bitcoin miners had double-digit moves to the upside on Friday. This was a good week. So look for tomorrow. I'm going to make a video on, you know, summarizing the week of activity for all these Bitcoin miners. I do that every weekend, so you can look for that. And this week, some of these miners had gigantic moves. So I'm excited to make that. And congratulations to everybody. Hopefully you guys made some really good money this week. And let's hope the momentum keeps going. We did in our vote of, you know, is Bitcoin going to break out of 32,000? 75% of you said yes. So I think we're optimistic as a group. So let's hope that comes true. Thanks again to all the members. If you're not a member, it's $5 a month, and you can just hit the join button on the YouTube page. So very much appreciated. Thanks, everybody. Have an outstanding weekend, and thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support, and thank you for, hopefully over the weekend, we will hit 14,000 subscribers. So I want to thank all the subscribers as well. Much appreciated. It's been a long journey, and I look forward to what's to come. Enjoy your weekend.